Hello, my name is Gene Curl and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today I wanted to talk about why I occasionally attend church and why attending church makes me feel like a hypocrite. But first I want to talk a little bit about my backstory for those of you who are not familiar with me. Those of you who watch some of my videos would know some of this already. But I was raised fundamental Baptist. Pretty much like Westboro Baptist type crazy. My father was a Baptist minister. I grew up being taught that my father was a prophet. And as a child, I believed everything that I was told because, well, you believe what your parents told you. But as I got older, I started to realize that my father was full of it, that he was not a prophet, and I started to really doubt my father. When I was 19, I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormon Church. And I was so into it that I actually even served a 2-year mission for the church. After I was in the church for a while, though, I started to have a crisis of faith. And I completely lost my faith when I was in college. But I went to church for a couple of years after that, trying to believe. When I finally came to terms with the fact that I did not believe, I pretty much lost everything. My wife was really into the Mormon church, so when I left the church, it ended my marriage. After I left the church, I became an atheist, and I started a YouTube channel trying to prove religion was wrong. And after several years of heavy pressure from my family, I decided to go back to church for a while, and I even tried in earnest to believe. The reason that I let my family pressure me into going back to church is because on some level I still wanted to believe that it was true. And so after I started going back to church trying to believe, I even started a Christian podcast called Recovering Faith to try to grow my faith. I never did say in the podcast that I was a believer, but I made it clear that I was trying to grow my faith. And some people determined that I was really a real believer because of that, but I never claimed to be. I did that for a couple of years, going to church and doing the podcast, but after a couple of years, I determined that it was a failed experiment and that I could not make myself believe just because I wanted to believe. And at that point, I couldn't pretend that I believed anymore. I couldn't put on the show and make myself believe that I believed, and I couldn't make any other people believe that I believed. And I stopped going to church, and it was over a year that I didn't go to church. But then, I have this mentally disabled uncle who he likes to go to church. And my mother takes him to church, and she likes me to go with her so that I can help out with him. And so I've started going to church every once in a while with my mother and my uncle. But I don't like doing that so much. I feel like a hypocrite when I go to church because I don't believe the things that they talk about in church. And the whole time the sermon is going on and the music is going on, I'm thinking to myself about the things that I disagree with about the church. And I am silently criticizing the sermon and the music. The church recently did a series on King David, and I was highly disappointed that the pastor never mentioned that David, in all likelihood, never existed. Of course, I didn't actually expect him to mention that David didn't exist, but I was still disappointed that he didn't. I don't feel true to myself or my morals when I go to church and when I let people believe that I believe. However, I feel like I would be letting my religious friends down if I told them how I actually believe. And I've gone into the why in other videos, but the truth is, I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe it's the divinely inspired book. I don't believe there's a God. And I don't believe Jesus actually existed, or if he did, he was a man and nothing more. I am, for all intents and purposes, I am an atheist, and I don't see that changing. I've tried to believe and I just can't. In some ways, I think church is good. It's a good thing for some because it creates community. But you can have community outside of church, and I actually started an atheist and free thinker meetup group so that I can make friends who are not religious. Even though church is good in some ways, it's bad in a lot of ways too, because it teaches people to be intolerant of a lot of minority groups, such as the LGBTQ plus group, and that's not good. I don't have anything against the church or the pastor or any of the members, but I do take issue with some of the beliefs. I still have friends from church, but I'm not sure how many of them will still want to be friends with me when they find out the extent of my unbelief in their faith tradition. I'm not sure I can keep attending church, even though it means a lot to my disabled uncle. There are other ways that I can show him that I care, while at the same time being true to myself and not feeling like a hypocrite. That's basically it. I don't like going to church because I feel like a hypocrite, and I don't like going to church because I don't agree with the things that are being taught, and I don't like going to church because I don't believe any of what is being taught. I don't like going to church because it makes me feel uncomfortable because of those things. And so I don't think I can keep going to church. Anyhow, this is going to be a short video, so if you have any questions or comments or concerns, don't hesitate to comment down below, and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. I do my best to answer all of the comments, unless they're just an outright rude comment, then I ignore it. But I do the best to respond to the comments. So if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to comment down below. And with that, I will catch you in the next video.